Good evening, my friend, and welcome to Sleepy Hub, your home for sleepy history and more. It's time to rest now. You've done enough for today. Whatever weight the hours have placed upon your shoulders, you can set it aside for tonight. You are safe here, and you are welcome here. So let's take a few breaths together, shall we? Breathe in, slow and easy, filling your lungs like a teacup being gently poured. And breathe out, a soft sigh, releasing the steam of the day. Again, in, like the hush of leaves rustling in the evening breeze. And out, like a kettle releasing its gentle song. Let your body soften from the crown of your head to the tips of your toes. Your eyes may flutter closed now, or if you prefer, leave them half open, gazing into the dim quiet of the room. There's nothing more you need to do. No deadlines, no demands. Only this moment, this breath, and the soft story that will carry you into dreams. Tonight, we are traveling not by train or plane, but by imagination. Following the steam that curls from a teacup, back through centuries and across continents. We are tracing the story of one of the world's simplest and yet most extraordinary companions, tea. For thousands of years, tea has been with us, a comfort in solitude, a spark in conversation, a medicine, a ritual, a delight. Across empires and households, in temples and in kitchens, tea has soothed, healed, and connected. And so, let us begin. Our journey starts long ago, in the misty hills of ancient China. Chapter 1: Origins in China. The story of tea begins, as so many good stories do, with a legend. It is said that nearly 5,000 years ago, the wise Emperor Shen Nong sat beneath a camphor tree in his garden. A kettle of water simmered quietly at his side, as he was known to boil his drinking water for purity. As the breeze moved through the branches above, a few delicate leaves drifted down, falling into his pot. The water darkened, releasing a gentle fragrance. Curious, he tasted it and found it refreshing, calming, and unlike anything he had known before. Thus, according to the tale, tea was discovered. Whether myth or memory, the story captures a simple truth, that tea was born from the marriage of earth and water, from the leaf and the fire. From that moment, China's relationship with tea blossomed. By the time of the Tang dynasty, tea was more than a drink. It was a culture, an art. Scholars and poets praised it in their verses. Monks sipped it in silent courtyards, using its gentle stimulation to remain alert through long hours of meditation. Tea houses began to appear in cities and villages alike, filled with chatter, music, and the aroma of brewing leaves. To share tea was to share hospitality, to offer a guest more than refreshment, to offer them welcome, respect, and peace. And the leaves themselves, so unassuming, carried mystery and depth. Green, oolong, black, all came from the same plant, the Camellia sinensis, their differences born from the way they were dried and prepared. The Chinese came to believe tea could cleanse the body, sharpen the mind, and balance the spirit. Physicians recommended it as medicine. Poets celebrated it as art. Picture, if you will, a small tea house nestled on a quiet street in ancient Chang'an. Lantern light flickers across wooden beams. Outside, the air is cool, and the scent of night jasmine drifts in from a nearby garden. Inside, a pot of tea warms gently over the coals. Cups are small, delicate, porcelain thin as eggshells. You lift one to your lips, and the first sip is bright, grassy, alive. Around you, voices murmur low. The sound of dice rattles on a table, and somewhere in the distance, a lute is plucked. Life is flowing, quietly, beautifully, like tea itself. Tea was never only about thirst, it was about presence, a reminder that even in a restless world, there could be stillness in a cup. And so, from Shen Nong's chance discovery beneath a tree, tea spread across China, rooting itself into the heart of a civilization. It became both ordinary and sacred, a morning routine and a spiritual practice, a household comfort and an imperial treasure. As the centuries passed, tea began to wander. It crossed seas, climbed mountains, and found its way into the rituals of distant lands. But before we follow those leaves on their travels, let us pause here in ancient China. In the hush of a tea house, the steam rising into the night air, carrying with it the promise of comfort and connection. Chapter 2: Japan and the Way of Tea. From the hills of China, the story of tea drifted gently across the sea, carried by monks, merchants, and the whisper of leaves tucked into satchels. Its next home would be Japan, where tea found not only drinkers, but disciples, men and women who transformed it into a philosophy, a way of living, and even a form of prayer. It is believed that in the 8th century, Japanese envoys returning from the Tang dynasty brought tea seeds with them, gifts from the fertile soil of China. These seeds were planted in temple gardens, nurtured under careful watch. For many years, tea was rare, enjoyed only by the imperial court and the monasteries. But even then, its value was clear. It sharpened the mind, calmed the body, and supported the long hours of meditation that defined monastic life. Centuries later, a Zen monk named Aisai would become one of tea's greatest champions in Japan. After traveling to China, he returned with both seeds and knowledge. He wrote a small book praising tea as medicine for both the heart and the spirit. His words spread, and so too did the planting of tea across the Japanese islands. But tea in Japan was never merely swallowed. It was revered, contemplated, almost worshipped. In the stillness of the Zen tradition, tea became a mirror of life itself. Simple, fleeting, yet profound. Over time, the Japanese developed chanoyu, the way of tea. This was no casual pouring of water into a cup, but a ritual, careful and precise, performed with reverence. Guests would gather in a quiet tea room, often a modest wooden hut with sliding doors, tatami mats, and a small hearth at its center. The host, dressed in simple robes, moved with slow, deliberate grace. Every gesture mattered: the folding of the cloth, the placement of the utensils, the whisking of the powdered matcha into froth. Nothing was rushed, nothing careless. To prepare tea was to offer a moment of presence, a gift of serenity to those who received it. The tea itself, vivid green, smooth, slightly bitter, was more than a drink. It was a bridge between host and guest, between earth and spirit. Sipping it, one was reminded of impermanence, of the beauty of each fleeting breath. Even the architecture of the tea room reflected this philosophy. The door was kept low, so that all who entered, no matter their status, had to bow. Inside, there were no thrones, no distractions, only simplicity. The ceremony was designed to strip away the noise of life, to center the heart on what was truly important: presence, humility, connection. Imagine yourself there now, in a tea room lit only by the soft glow of a paper lantern. Outside, a garden waits in silence, stones raked into patterns, moss soft beneath the moonlight. Inside, the air is fragrant with the faint scent of tatami straw powdered tea. You watch as the host lifts a ladle of water, pours it gently into the bowl, and begins to whisk. The sound is soft, a quiet rhythm, like the beating of wings. When at last the bowl is offered to you, you cradle it in both hands, feeling its warmth. You turn it, sip it, savor it. The taste is earthy, grounding, alive. And in that moment, you are entirely here, entirely now. For Japan, tea became more than a beverage. It was a teacher, a reminder that beauty lies in simplicity, that peace can be found in small rituals, that even a single cup can hold the whole of the world. As centuries passed, the way of tea spread across Japanese culture. From noble households to common gatherings, it became a thread that wove people together. And even today, in modern Japan, the tea ceremony continues, a quiet bow to the past, and a promise that the spirit of tea will always endure. And so, the leaves continued their journey, from temples to tea rooms, from China's mountains to Japan's gardens. Tea grew deeper roots. Yet the story did not end there, for the leaf was restless, eager to travel farther still, to deserts, to palaces, to markets where east met west. Our story now follows the caravans, the traders, and the long roads of silk and spice, where tea began to wander across the wider world. Chapter 3. Tea. Along the Silk Road. Close your eyes, my dear, and let us travel back through the centuries. Imagine a ribbon of pathways stretching across deserts and mountains, winding from the heart of China to the lands of Persia and beyond. This was not one single road, but a living web, the Silk Road, where merchants, monks, and dreamers carried treasures of every kind. Among the silks, spices, and jewels, there was something humbler, tucked into baskets and bundles, bricks of tea, pressed tightly so they would not spoil on the long journey. These bricks were carried on the backs of camels and horses. They were so valuable that in some places they could even be used as money. Picture the caravans moving slowly across the sands, the sound of hooves steady and rhythmic, the air filled with the mingled scents of cinnamon, saffron, and earthy leaves. At night, when the fires were lit beneath the stars, a pot of water was set to boil. A small piece of tea brick was broken off, dropped into the bubbling water, and soon the weary travelers shared a cup that warmed both their bodies and their spirits. No common language was needed. In that simple act of drinking together, strangers became companions. The tea soothed tired muscles, sharpened minds dulled by the road, and brought a sense of home to those far from it. As tea travelled westward, it began to change. In the highlands of Tibet, it was stirred into butter and salt, a hearty drink for those facing the mountain cold. In Central Asian markets, it was sweetened with sugar or spiced with cardamom, turning each sip into a small celebration. Everywhere it went, tea listened to the land and took on new forms. It was not only a merchant's good, it was also a monk's companion. Buddhist monks carried tea across borders, using it to stay awake through long hours of prayer and meditation. In their quiet rituals, tea became more than a drink. It became a practice, a way of finding stillness within movement, peace within fatigue. By the time tea reached Persia, it was embraced with delight. Tea houses began to appear, places where people could gather, speak, and dream together over steaming cups. But even before those grand traditions took shape, the seed had been planted on the road itself, in the silence of the desert, in the laughter of a shared pot, in the endurance of those who walked long miles with hope in their hearts. The Silk Road carried more than goods. It carried ideas, music, stories, and flavors. It was the first great bridge between worlds, and tea was among its gentlest travelers. Wherever it went, it whispered of comfort, of ritual, of connection. So let us rest now in that vision, a caravan beneath the stars, the firelight soft against the sand, a cup of tea passed from hand to hand. Feel the warmth in your palms, the steam rising like a tender sigh. Each sip a reminder that even across vast distances, people have always found ways to share what nourishes them most. And as you drift deeper into calm, know that you too are part of this journey. Every time you hold a cup of tea, you echo those ancient nights on the Silk Road, where strangers became friends, and where the world grew smaller with each sip. Chapter 4. Tea reaches Europe. The story of tea takes a new turn as we leave the deserts and mountains of Asia and sail across restless seas. It is the 16th century now, and the world is changing. Ships set forth from Portugal and the Netherlands, their sails filled with salt wind, and their cargo holds ready to receive treasures from distant lands. Among the silks and spices, porcelain and gems, there was another discovery. Something dark, leafy, and mysterious. Tea. At first it was rare and precious. Imagine the wonder of those first Europeans who tasted it. The earthy aroma, the gentle bitterness balanced by warmth, unlike any drink they had ever known. To them, tea was not simply a beverage, but an exotic potion, part medicine, part luxury, and entirely enchanting. In Portugal, the royal courts were among the first to welcome tea. Catherine of Braganza, a Portuguese princess who later married King Charles II of England, adored the drink. She carried her love for tea with her to Britain, and through her influence, it began to ripple outward through English society. What started as a novelty in noble circles soon became a fashionable obsession. Meanwhile, Dutch traders were quick to see opportunity. Their ships, sleek and efficient, carried tea back to Amsterdam, where apothecaries sold it alongside spices and remedies. Tea was advertised for its health benefits, to soothe digestion, to sharpen the mind, even to lengthen life. It was sipped in small porcelain cups, admired for its elegance as much as its taste. But tea in these early days was extraordinarily expensive. To own a little caddy of tea leaves was to hold status itself. Wealthy households locked their tea away, the keys kept safely by the lady of the house. To be offered a cup was to be invited into privilege. Think for a moment of the candle-lit rooms of the 17th century. Wooden tables polished to a shine, embroidered tapestries hanging on the walls, and delicate porcelain teapots steaming with this rare, fragrant liquid. Gentle conversation flowed as slowly as the tea was poured, each sip carrying with it a sense of wonder at the vastness of the world and the connections being drawn across oceans. Slowly, tea began to spread beyond the palaces and wealthy merchants. Coffee houses opened across Europe, bustling spaces where ideas and debates filled the air. Some of these houses offered tea alongside coffee, and in these lively places, tea began to mingle with the energy of commerce, art, and politics. Though it was still costly, it was no longer confined to royal tables alone. In this way, tea's journey to Europe was not simply about trade. It was about transformation. It changed the rhythms of daily life, introducing moments of pause and reflection, moments where people could sit together and sip, thinking of lands far beyond their own. Imagine yourself there, in one of those candle-lit parlors, the porcelain cup warming your hands. The sea air still clings faintly to the leaves, carrying whispers of the harbours of Canton and the markets of Macau. Each sip is a story of distance and discovery, and as you taste it, you too become part of the voyage. And so, in this chapter of tea's journey, we see its power not just to travel, but to enchant, to slip quietly into new cultures and become something cherished, something enduring. From those first rare imports in Portugal and the Netherlands, tea began its steady rise, preparing to take root in the very heart of Europe. Let us linger in that gentle glow for a moment. A world opening up, a cup of tea at the centre of it all. Chapter 5: Britain and the Age of Empire. By the time tea reached the shores of Britain, it was already a substance cloaked in mystique, wealth, and allure. Yet it was here, on this island of damp mornings and cool afternoons, that tea would undergo a remarkable transformation. No longer a rare curiosity, it became a daily ritual, a heartbeat of society, and eventually a global force that shaped empires. Imagine London in the 1600s. Narrow streets filled with horse-drawn carriages, the air thick with wood smoke, and the scent of spices from distant colonies. Into this bustling scene came the first shipments of tea carried by Portuguese and Dutch traders. It was expensive, almost impossibly so, and thus it found its earliest home among the elite, the nobles and courtiers who delighted in its novelty. To sip tea was not simply to drink, but to display refinement, worldliness, and status. Soon, however, tea began to creep beyond the halls of the wealthy. Coffee houses, already popular gathering places, began serving tea alongside their dark brews. These houses became hubs of debate, business, and ideas, what some would call the penny universities of London. And tea, lighter and more sociable than coffee, fit perfectly into this culture of conversation. But the British fascination with tea soon grew into something far greater than a social fad. With the rise of the East India Company, that vast and powerful trading enterprise, tea became entwined with empire itself. Ships crossed oceans not only with silks and spices, but with precious leaves carefully packed into chests. The company wielded staggering influence, controlling trade routes, negotiating with rulers, and shaping politics back home. And tea, more than any other commodity, fueled its power. In time, Britain sought not merely to trade in tea, but to grow it. Vast plantations were established in India, and later in Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, where hillsides were carved into terraced gardens of green. These plantations reshaped landscapes and lives as entire communities laboured among the rows of tea bushes. The leaves they picked would travel thousands of miles to fill the cups of families in London, Edinburgh, and beyond. It was empire distilled into a drink, the global and the personal intertwined. Yet tea was not only about commerce and conquest, it was also about comfort, ritual, and belonging. By the 19th century, Britain had given the world one of its most enduring traditions: afternoon tea. Picture a table set with fine china, delicate sandwiches, and warm scones topped with cream and jam. The clink of porcelain, the murmur of voices, and the steam rising from the teapot, all of it creating a moment of pause in the rhythm of the day. For the weary and the busy, tea offered not just refreshment but respite. But tea's story in Britain was not without turbulence. Across the ocean in the American colonies, a very different chapter unfolded. The colonies were restless under British rule, and when new taxes were imposed on tea, resentment boiled over. In Boston, in the chill of December 1773, men disguised as Mohawk warriors boarded ships and tipped crates of British tea into the harbour waters. The Boston Tea Party, as it became known, was both an act of protest and a spark that lit the flames of revolution. In that moment, tea was no longer just a drink, it was a symbol of resistance, identity, and the struggle for freedom. Back in Britain, the ritual of tea continued, resilient and evolving. Tea became woven into the fabric of everyday life. Morning tea to start the day. Strong sweet tea in factories during breaks. Tea shared in parlours and drawing rooms. It was democratic, enjoyed by both aristocrats and labourers, a rare bridge across class divides. And as Britain's influence stretched across continents, so too did its tea culture, carrying with it both comfort and controversy. To this day, when one thinks of Britain, tea often comes to mind. It is not merely a drink, but a symbol of hospitality, steadiness, and endurance. Yet behind each cup lies centuries of exploration, trade, labour, and rebellion. A reminder that something as simple as a warm beverage can carry within it the weight of history. So, as you sip your own cup in this story's dreamlike unfolding, imagine yourself drifting through time, from the chatter of London's coffee houses to the misty slopes of Darjeeling, to a quiet table laid with scones and cream, to the tossing waves of Boston Harbour. Tea has been all these things: luxury, rebellion, ritual, empire. And in its steam, we glimpse both the fragility and the resilience of human endeavour. Now, let that thought soften into calmness, like sugar dissolving in a cup. The story of tea in Britain, with all its triumphs and trials, settles like a gentle hush across history. And as your body relaxes further, you can rest in the knowing that every sip you take tonight carries whispers of centuries gone by. Chapter 6. Tea in Other Cultures. While Britain was busy weaving tea into empire and ritual, far beyond its shores, other traditions were quietly blossoming, each one unique, each one a reflection of place and people. To journey through the world of tea is to wander through deserts and mountains, icy winters and bustling bazaars, each cup carrying its own story. Tonight, let us drift together across continents, where tea takes on new faces and meanings. Our first stop is Morocco, where mint tea is more than a beverage. It is an embrace. Imagine the dry heat of the desert giving way to an oasis, where you are welcomed with a smile and the gleam of a silver teapot. Green tea, blended with handfuls of fresh mint and sweetened generously with sugar, is poured from high above the glass so that bubbles dance upon its surface. To decline this offering would be unthinkable. Here, mint tea is hospitality itself, a ritual of warmth and connection. With each sip, you feel refreshed, cooled, and folded into the fabric of community. From the sands of Morocco, we travel north and east to the vast expanse of Russia. Here, winters can be long and biting, and tea has become a faithful companion against the cold. In many Russian homes, the centerpiece is a samovar, a gleaming urn that keeps water hot for hours. Around it, family and friends gather, pouring strong black tea into small cups, often softened with sugar, lemon, or even a spoonful of jam. There is no rush. The tea flows slowly, endlessly, as conversations stretch into the evening. Tea in Russia is not hurried. It is a rhythm, a gentle continuity in a sometimes harsh world. Further south, we arrive in Turkey, where tea, or say, is served in delicate tulip-shaped glasses that catch the light like jewels. The streets are alive with the clink of these glasses, from seaside cafes to tiny backstreet shops. Here, tea is not a solitary act. It is woven into every moment of social life. Business deals are discussed over steaming cups, friendships deepened, and strangers welcomed. Say is strong, bright, and usually taken without milk, just sugar to taste. The little glasses invite many refills, ensuring the conversation lingers as long as the tea flows. And in South America, tea takes on yet another form. In Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, and parts of Brazil, the drink of choice is yerba mate. Picture a hollowed gourd filled with green earthy leaves, a silver straw called a bombilla resting inside. Hot water is poured carefully, and the gourd is passed from hand to hand, a circle of friends sharing the same drink. Mate is bitter, bold, and deeply communal. To drink mate is to participate in something larger than yourself, to join in the intimacy of sharing not just tea, but time, stories, and connection. What unites all these traditions, Moroccan mint tea, Russian samovars, Turkish teh, South American mate, is the way tea becomes more than leaves and water. It becomes a mirror of culture, a reflection of values. In Morocco, it is generosity. In Russia, endurance. In Turkey, friendship. In South America, community. Each cup whispers of landscapes and lives, each one a story wrapped in steam. And when you pause to notice, you may realize something deeper. Though oceans and languages separate these places, the ritual of tea creates a thread that links them all. It is the same comfort felt by the Moroccan host, the Russian family, the Turkish merchant, and the South American friends. A universal moment of pause, of togetherness, of warmth. So as you rest now, drifting into stillness, imagine yourself traveling through these lands. The silver sparkle of a Moroccan teapot, the golden glow of a Russian samovar, the ruby glint of Turkish glass, the earthy gourd of South America in your hand. Each cup is different, yet each one is familiar, like variations of the same lullaby sung across the world. And in that recognition, your body softens even more. You see that tea, wherever it is found, is always a gift. A reminder that no matter where we are or who we are with, there are rituals that hold us, comfort us, and carry us gently toward rest. Chapter 7. Tea as medicine and healing. Long before tea was poured into porcelain cups or served in bustling cafes, it was regarded first as medicine, a gift of the earth, a quiet healer disguised as a simple drink. To sip tea was to invite balance into the body, to ease the spirit, and to honor the wisdom of plants. Tonight, let us wander gently through the healing story of tea, where every leaf carries a remedy, and every sip is a soft touch of care. Our journey begins again in China, where legend tells us Emperor Shennong discovered tea's restorative power when leaves drifted into his boiling water. From that moment, tea was not merely a pleasant drink, but a medicine chest in a cup. Ancient healers studied its qualities, noting how it awakened the mind, soothed the digestion, and lifted fatigue. In traditional Chinese medicine, tea was seen as harmonizing, able to cool fiery energies or warm the weary body, depending on how it was prepared. As centuries passed, this reverence for tea's healing properties spread. Across Asia, monks drank green tea to sustain long hours of meditation, finding in its gentle stimulation both clarity and calm. To them, tea was a bridge between body and spirit, a way to quiet hunger while keeping the mind bright. Each sip was not indulgence, but practice, part of their discipline and devotion. Beyond Asia, other traditions embraced tea's healing nature. In India, the practice of Ayurveda drew upon countless herbs to create infusions for every ailment. Ginger root to spark warmth and courage. Tulsi, or holy basil, to strengthen the spirit and protect the heart. Chamomile, to soften the edges of restlessness. Peppermint, to clear the fog of the mind. Though these herbal teas were not from the tea plant itself, they shared its essence: comfort, healing, and renewal. In Europe too, teas became trusted remedies. Apothecaries offered infusions of rose hips for vitality, lavender for calm, elderflower for resilience. Mothers brewed herbal teas to ease their children's fevers or lull them into sleep. These were not simply drinks. They were lifelines, passed down through generations, stitched into the fabric of daily care. What makes tea such a powerful healer is not only its ingredients but the ritual itself. To pause, to heat water, to wait for leaves to steep. This is already medicine for the mind. It is slowness in a world that often rushes. It is a moment of stillness, a return to breath. The warmth of the cup in your hand becomes part of the therapy, soothing more deeply than any prescription could. And modern science, in its own way, has confirmed what ancient wisdom always knew. Green tea is rich in antioxidants, thought to protect against illness and aging. Black tea may support heart health. Herbal teas like rooibos and hibiscus are studied for their calming and restorative effects. Yet perhaps the truest healing power of tea cannot be measured in studies. It lies in how it makes us feel: comforted, balanced, restored. Even today, when life feels heavy or restless, many instinctively reach for tea. A hot cup after a long day, a calming chamomile before bed, peppermint to ease an unsettled stomach. These small rituals remind us that healing is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is as simple as warm water flowing over leaves, as gentle as steam rising into the air. So as you rest now, let yourself imagine a cup prepared just for you. The leaves chosen with care, the water poured with tenderness, the steam curling upward like a soft invitation. You lift the cup to your lips, and with each sip, you feel the body soften, the mind quieten, the heart ease. Tea, in its simplicity, becomes your medicine tonight, not only for the body, but for the soul. And as your breathing deepens, you carry this knowing into sleep, that healing does not always require effort, nor does it always come in loud or dramatic ways. Sometimes it arrives in silence, in warmth, in the humble offering of a cup of tea. Chapter 8: Tea in the Modern World. If tea began as medicine, ritual, and empire, today it lives as something even broader, a bridge between ancient traditions and modern creativity. In our fast-moving world, tea has found new expressions, adapting to changing tastes while holding tightly to its timeless roots. To wander through the story of tea in the modern era is to stroll through bustling cities and quiet kitchens alike, where every cup whispers of both heritage and invention. Imagine stepping into a contemporary tea cafe. The air is fragrant with steam rising from 100 blends, some familiar, some entirely new. Behind the counter, gleaming tins hold green teas from Japan, oolong from Taiwan, black teas from India, and a rainbow of herbal infusions. Alongside them, inventive creations sparkle: matcha lattes in hues of jade, chai spiced with cardamom and cinnamon, iced teas infused with fruit and flowers. Tea has become a canvas, painted anew by each culture and generation. One of the brightest stars in this modern tea universe is bubble tea. Born in Taiwan in the late 20th century. Sweet milk tea mingling with chewy tapioca pearls, shaken and served in tall cups with wide straws. At first, a local delight, bubble tea quickly leapt across borders, becoming a global phenomenon. In the hands of young people everywhere, it became not only a drink, but a playful expression, colourful and joyful. Proof that tea, even after millennia, can still surprise us. In cities across the world, tea now coexists with coffee as part of daily rhythm. Business meetings might unfold over an Earl Grey latte, while students sip matcha to stay awake for long nights of study. Tea has become as cosmopolitan as the world itself, blending East and West, tradition and innovation, comfort and curiosity. And yet, even amid all this variety, tea still serves its oldest purpose, to comfort and to connect. In a modern kitchen, a kettle whistles. In a busy office, a bag of chamomile steeps in a paper cup. In a cafe, friends sit across from one another, steam rising between their words. Whether in fine ceramics or simple mugs, tea continues to be a pause, a soft landing in the middle of life's rush. Beyond cafes and homes, tea has also become a symbol of wellness. Health enthusiasts praise its antioxidants, its ability to calm or energize without overwhelming. Yoga studios serve ginger or tulsi teas after class, a ritual as natural as stretching. Wellness shops line their shelves with blends designed for sleep, digestion, or clarity. In this way, tea has not only kept pace with the times, it has become part of our collective search for balance in a world often too busy. But perhaps the most beautiful truth about tea in the modern world is that it belongs to everyone. No longer confined to courts or ceremonies, tea is democratic. It is the tea bag steeping quietly in a student's dorm room, the loose-leaf oolong poured with reverence in a tea house, the plastic cup of bubble tea clutched in the hand of a teenager laughing with friends. Tea has learned to wear many faces, each one valid, each one meaningful. And through it all, the essence remains unchanged. Warmth, comfort, connection, whether ancient or modern, whether sipped from a porcelain cup or through a plastic straw, tea reminds us to pause, to taste, to breathe. So as you drift now into the calm of evening, imagine yourself wandering through a modern city where cafes glow with light and voices hum like a lullaby. You pass by windows filled with teapots, bubble tea shops with bright neon signs, quiet kitchens where kettles sing. Everywhere, tea continues its gentle work, soothing, connecting, reminding. And you realize that you too are part of this story. Your cup tonight is a continuation of centuries past, and also a glimpse into centuries yet to come. In the modern world, tea is not just survival of tradition, it is its rebirth, endlessly adaptable, endlessly soothing. Let that thought settle now, as gently as leaves in water. You are part of the living story of tea, still unfolding, still comforting, still carrying you toward dreams. Chapter 9. The Future of Tea. The story of tea is ancient, yet it is far from finished. Even as we cradle a cup tonight, the journey of tea stretches onward, flowing like a river into unknown lands. The future of tea is one of innovation and challenge, but also of hope, a reminder that this humble leaf will continue to evolve, carrying with it the wisdom of the past and the promise of tomorrow. One of the greatest questions facing tea today is sustainability. The fields that have long given us their leaves are now shaped by shifting climates. warmer seasons, unpredictable rains, and fragile ecosystems. Tea farmers around the world are learning to adapt, seeking new ways to care for the earth while preserving their craft. Some experiment with shade-grown varieties, others with organic cultivation, minimizing chemicals so that the soil may thrive. The future of tea will not only be measured in taste, but in care for the planet itself. Here, technology steps in as a gentle ally. Already, artificial intelligence is being used to help predict weather patterns, guide farmers on when to plant or harvest, and safeguard delicate crops against disease. Imagine a farmer in Assam or Kenya receiving insights from satellites and sensors, ensuring that each harvest is not just abundant but resilient. In this way, the story of tea merges with the story of science, each serving the other in quiet partnership. New flavors and forms too are waiting on the horizon. Just as bubble tea once surprised the world, so might tomorrow's creations. Scientists and artisans alike are experimenting with hybrid plants, blending traditional tea with herbs and flowers to create entirely new experiences. Perhaps in years to come, we will sip teas that carry the fragrance of unknown blossoms, or taste leaves designed to nurture both body and planet. The future of tea is both mysterious and wide open, a garden yet to be fully discovered. But the future is not only about invention, it is about connection. Around the globe, people are finding ways to keep tea not just as a drink, but as a gathering. Virtual tea tastings already exist, bringing together people from different countries to share a moment across screens. In the years to come, perhaps tea will become a bridge even more powerful, a way to connect voices, cultures, and hearts in a world so often divided. And as humanity looks beyond Earth, even into the stars, tea may journey with us. Astronauts already drink from carefully designed pouches aboard the International Space Station. Imagine one day sitting aboard a ship bound for Mars, sipping a warm infusion as the planet glows red outside the window. Tea may become a part of our cosmic rituals, a reminder of home even as we step into new worlds. Yet for all these possibilities, the essence of tea's future will likely remain the same. No matter the technology, no matter the planet, tea will still be a pause, a comfort, a gesture of care. A cup raised in friendship, a sip taken in silence, a warmth shared across time. The leaf will continue to carry us forward, reminding us of what it has always known, that healing, connection, and rest are timeless. So, as you settle deeper into calm, imagine this unfolding future. Fields of green tended with love and wisdom, scientists and farmers working side by side, new flavors blossoming, unexpected and delightful. Cups shared not only across tables, but across oceans, and perhaps one day across the stars. The story of tea is still being written, and tonight, as you dream, you are part of that story too. Let that thought soothe you, like steam rising gently in moonlight. Tea's future is vast and beautiful, yet always rooted in the same truth, that something so simple can carry such wonder. And as you drift now towards sleep, you might feel that wonder inside you too, timeless, infinite, unfolding. Chapter 10, A Dreamy Tea Meditation. And now, after wandering through centuries of tea's story, from misty mountains to royal courts, from bustling bazaars to the future stars, it is time to let the journey soften, and to let the cup in your hands become a cradle for dreams. This final chapter is not history, but a meditation, a place where you can rest deeply, surrounded by the warmth of tea's spirit. Take a slow breath in and imagine yourself stepping into a moonlit garden. The air is cool, touched with the scent of blossoms, and the night sky stretches wide and endless above you. In the center of the garden is a low table, and upon it, a single teapot gleams in the starlight. Steam curls upward from its spout, rising like a gentle whisper. You know this is no ordinary tea. It is a cup prepared just for you, infused with calm, comfort, and the soft glow of rest. You settle into a chair carved from smooth wood, the kind that welcomes you as if it has been waiting. The teacup is placed into your hands. Feel its warmth radiating into your palms, flowing gently into your body. The steam touches your face like a lullaby, carrying notes of chamomile, jasmine, and a sweetness you cannot quite name. This is the tea of dreams, a blend of every tradition, every story, every hand that ever prepared a cup across the centuries. It is the essence of tea, distilled into a single sip. When you bring the cup to your lips, notice how the taste is both new and familiar. A touch of mint from Morocco, a strength like Russian samovars, the brightness of Turkish teh, the earthiness of yerba mate, the elegance of Japanese matcha, and the comforting richness of black tea in Britain. All of it together, yet all of it simple. A quiet reminder that you are connected to the world and to everyone who has ever paused for a cup. With each sip, your body relaxes further. Your shoulders soften. Your jaw loosens. The weight you've been carrying dissolves like sugar into water. Each breath grows slower, steadier, as though your whole being is steeping in peace. You are safe here, in this moonlit garden of tea and dreams. And as you rest, you realize you are not alone. Around the garden, shadowy figures sit quietly at their own tables, travelers from across time. Perhaps an ancient Chinese monk in robes, sipping in silence. A Moroccan host pouring tea high into glasses. A Russian grandmother, her hands resting on the samovar. A British lady, her teacup poised with elegance. A young person laughing with bubble tea in hand. They are all here, part of this timeless circle, united not by language or place, but by the simple act of tea. And tonight, you are part of their circle too. The night deepens, and stars glimmer brighter overhead. You notice the steam from your cup rising higher now, curling into constellations. Each wisp of vapor carries a dream of peace, of healing, of love. As you sip, those dreams flow gently into you, filling you with ease. Your heart feels light, your mind feels open, your body feels ready to drift. Perhaps in this moment, you realize that the story of tea is not only about history, or culture, or even taste. It is about presence. It is about the pause. Tea has always been a way to stop time, to remind us that rest is sacred, that stillness is powerful. And so, as you breathe in this final chapter, let yourself embrace the pause fully. There is nothing to do, nowhere to go, only this moment and this peace. Your teacup now sits empty, but its warmth lingers in your hands. You set it gently on the table and lean back, gazing at the stars above. The garden hums with quiet life, the rustle of leaves, the soft chirp of night insects, the gentle sigh of wind through branches. All of it cradles you, just as the tea has cradled you, carrying you gently into the arms of sleep. And so, as you drift now, know that the story of tea continues inside you. Each breath, a steeping. Each heartbeat, a sip. You are part of the story, timeless, infinite, resting. Good night, traveler. May your dreams tonight be as gentle as steam, as comforting as warmth in your hands, and as endless as the sky.